Our second reader is a writer, parent, and jack of all careers. Now a recruiter, he has, in past reincarnations, been a public defender in Brooklyn, a waiter at Michael Jordan's original restaurant, the personal screener of Mayor Richard M. Daley's mail, and a tech salesman of the world's finest benefits communication tool. He has used to perform monologues in various locations around Chicago, and he is back here with us tonight. Please welcome David Daskal.
Hi, everybody. Barbra Streisand has cloned her dogs twice. This story broke last week and then started to pop up everywhere. It even got a mention during the Oscar telecast on Sunday night. There probably has never been a busier time for serious news, and yet this Barbra Streisand cloning story has me in its clutches. The first thing I thought was, aren't there enough fancy dogs, plain dogs, mutts, strays to satisfy the most demanding canine shopper? And clearly the answer is no, not enough for Barbra Streisand. She's that special. And her dog must be equally special. So special that no current dog on earth can satisfy her uncompromising standards. In an editorial in the New York Times, she wrote that she did it because her old dog was a curly-haired Coton de Tulier. That's the dog breed. And the curly-haired Coton de Tulier, they are incredibly hard to find. Most of them are straight-haired. And of course, none of the curly-haired ones in existence could hold a candle to her dearly departed Samantha. Then she remembered her friend who cloned their dog and thought, why not me? So how much does it cost? It used to cost $100,000 as recently as 2015, but the price has plummeted. It cost Babs only $25,000 a dog. She had it done in Texas at a place called Viagen. Classic name for a cloning company, Viagen. A combination of viable and generation, Viagra and generous, Viagen. Anyway, who knows? She reportedly paid Viagen $50,000 for the pups. But here's the catch. You'd think for that much money you'd get the exact same dog. And it turns out, while the dogs look identical, their personalities could be totally different from the original dog. Isn't that kind of important? You get this identical looking dog home, and it turns out that this dog is a royal pain in the ass. Yapping, biting, high-strung. Doesn't this undermine the whole point of the cloning to begin with? You clone a dog out of grief over the loss of the original dog, but every time the clone dog does practically anything, you realize how far this clone falls short. The new dog is literally nothing but new tricks. It must be disorienting and disappointing. How can it help but tarnish your memory of the great old dog? Maybe that's why Barbra Streisand wasn't satisfied with just one clone. There ended up being 5 clones of the original. One died, she gave 2 away, and probably kept the 2 that seemed temperamentally closest to the original for herself. I wonder how the decision process for this cloning went down in the Streisand household. Was it the kind of thing that Barbara mulled over for months after she heard about her friend's clone, then gently mentioned the idea to her husband, the actor James Brolin? Then they had a heart-to-heart about love and loss, and then they decided to go ahead? Or was this something she heard about in a text from the friend? I just cloned my dog, wow! And then she yelled down to one of her assistants, because I just assume the Streisand household is crawling with assistants for everything. There's probably a chef, a gardener, a scheduler, a masseuse, a trainer, and probably the person who handles the requests that would be completely insane in any other household, but are a common occurrence when you work for the Streisands. She yells down to the assistant, who I imagine has a name like Stableford. Stableford! I want to clone Sammy. Will you make that happen? And then Stableford, down in the kitchen, world-weary, rolls his eyes, makes some calls, and gets the ball rolling. And I wonder after a couple days she's yelling down to Stableford again, "Stableford, where are my clones?" And he so badly wants to say something snarky to her, but instead he just says something like, "They're gestating, madam." Poor Stableford. This whole story has highlighted to me also the immediacy of cloning in our lives. It can happen now with a few phone calls and a credit card. It's absolutely not science fiction anymore. It's a commodity. And apparently, in the circles that Babs runs in, cloning your dog has probably become a full-blown status symbol. Did you know that 22 different animals so far have been successfully cloned? Dogs, cats, goats, horses, pigs, sheep, a camel. China has set up a joint venture with South Korea to build a factory to produce 100,000 cloned cows per year for livestock. Even monkeys have been cloned. And you know what's next if they've figured out how to clone monkeys? Yes, according to some news reports, the technology is already there to start cloning us. Don't you just kind of assume, given the current state of the technology, that someone like Kim Jong-un has already experimented with this stuff right now, deep inside some mountain lab in North Korea? It's actually perfect for Kim and other royal families. The king is dead. Long live the cloned king. No need to repaint the ruler's portraits on the side of buildings. It's the same dude. Or maybe, in his most diabolical plot ever, Kim's gotten hold of some of Donald Trump's DNA and is trying to clone the president himself. Paid $10 million for 3 hairs that dropped off the Donald's head at a state dinner in Seoul in November when he was traveling there. And in a few years, the Trump clone baby will be big enough to trot out at military parades and state functions. Kim Jong-un could keep him around as a mascot. They could hold him for ransom. Of course, the clone would be much younger, but that would be so poignant. 3-year-old clone president held for $1 billion. News organizations would find old baby pictures of the president and compare them to the clone, and they'd be identical. We'd have to pay up or send in SEAL teams for a dramatic rescue. Our president's genetic material has been hijacked, and we'd all probably feel an inexorable bond to that little clone. It makes me wonder, shouldn't intelligence agencies be on the lookout for stray chief executive DNA? It seems like there should be a Secret Service agent whose entire job it is to monitor the president's genetic material in public settings. Are we guarding against this? The fact is that Barbra Streisand is helping to make all this a reality. And so I started to ponder whether, given the chance, I would clone myself before I die. I mean, I'm not that far from retirement. I've got time on my hands. What if I clone myself and use the remaining time given to me to raise my clone? Teach him everything I know, not just about the world, but about him, and thus give him a fantastic leg up on to best negotiate life with my particular genetic code. After all, who knows the ins and outs of my genes better than me? That was a dad joke inserted in it. Plus, it would bring me comfort. I frankly can't imagine the world without me in it, and now, thanks to cloning, I don't have to. If the cost of cloning keeps dropping, I might just do it, by God. I might go even further. I might found a cloning franchise and put stores in malls across the country. Get in on the craze quickly and at the ground floor. All I need is a cute name for the business, like The Cloning Place, or Carbon Copy, or You Again. There is a danger, though. What if my clone turns out to be way more successful than I ever was? Wouldn't that be damning evidence that I hadn't actually reached my potential during my life? Here's what is essentially a redo of me, and he just up and blows right by me. Would I be proud or jealous and ashamed? And on the flip side, what if the clone totally fails? Then all of a sudden anything I've accomplished looks like a piece of dumb luck, product of some favorable breaks along the way. As a person, the quality of my genetics is forever tainted. No one will ever want to clone me again. The other thing that worries me is someday it may be so easy to clone a new human that actual traditional procreation may fall out of favor. Why risk the genetic lottery of biological pregnancy when you can start with a proven clone and go from there? There's a lot of research out there that shows that teenagers are having less sex today than prior generations. What if they decide it's just not worth it? It's way too messy and requires actual human interaction. It's indulgent, it's practically barbaric. Natural pregnancy is like Russian roulette, a morass of dangerous potential consequences. Abstinence may be the only way to go. You never have to have sex and can still have a family. If you really love your child, you're not going to leave the genetic makeup to chance. You're going to want to control the process from end to end, every nucleotide. So why not start with yourself? Finally, the whole process of cloning may unhinge itself completely from family ties, and people will seek the rights to sell various proven human models for perpetual use. Clone a brilliant person to bring success to your family. Clone a great fighter to bring revenge. Splurge on the genes of Lin-Manuel Miranda and sire a musical genius. Mix and match traits to clone a multifaceted super being. And in the end, maybe that's what's most troubling about Barbra Streisand. Does anyone believe she hasn't thought about a way to use this newfound technique to carry herself on forever? After all, I'm sure she believes she's the greatest singer in history. She can't die. The way we will perpetually be, the way we were will perpetually be the way she is, or at least some reasonable facsimile. Is there anyone more likely to do this than Barbra Streisand, cloner of dogs, diva of divas? I put money on the possibility that there is a whole musical's worth of Babettes in various stages of development at Viagen right now.